Right, 16 February 2021, and I'm joined by Mr. Tinashe Jonas, President of Ideal Zimbabwe. How are you, sir?
I'm so honored to be on Zimbabwe Media, and so far, so good. COVID-19 negative.
That's fantastic. So today we've got a very, very interesting topic. You saw the report that came out last week, and this report was produced here in South Africa, but the producer said it was written in Zimbabwe. It was a company called the Daily Maverick. What do you think about that report? Did you manage to see it?
Yeah, no, I read the report. I think maybe 3 times, at least 3 times.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
I think I found it problem. It was a huge problem in terms of a report about Zimbabwe being published in South Africa. To me, it was to if someone who compiles a report which is factual, which is proven, surely that person was supposed to be known, so that the people who are inside the report can have their say. Accountability is important. But now, if the producers are anonymous, then but the people who are being accused, their names are in the document. That to me that becomes it becomes a hidden agenda.
Okay. Who was named in that report? Can you take us through?
The report basically, I can say the spotlight was on President Emerson Mnangagwa as the head of the cartels, because he is protecting them, is creating them, so that in turn they get political funding. I can say the main target was the President E.G. Mnangagwa.
Okay. But who wrote this report? In your opinion, who is the person who wrote the report?
In my opinion, the report was written by none other than Hope Ochimono. Because why Hope Ochimono? Because apparently the US embassy narrative, indoctrinated on MDC alliance, it's corruption, and the spokesperson of MDC alliance, obviously it's Hope Ochimono. Although we also know that Hope Ochimono wants to run for presidency, because everyone is supporting Chamisa to fish from his tank, because there is a wrong assumption that Chamisa has got supporters, a lot of supporters. So Hope Ochimono, like the G40, is also using Chamisa. He has got political ambitions, because the US embassy is also or administration is realizing that Chamisa is a dead donkey. He can't match ZANU PF. So Hope Ochimono, his campaign code name is corruption. Now that he is singing the dem loot, and then the document is coming out, because there's nothing fancy, nothing to take home about the document. It's a script from different media publications. There's nothing that someone can really say it's new from what the MDC alliance are saying out there.
Okay, then if it's not unique or new, what do you think was the purpose of producing that report?
Okay, because the report doesn't have anything new, it's a hearsay. Remember, data collection, they are saying, I went on to number one, the challenges they faced in producing this document. This is a key area. Number one, they are saying, because of the COVID-19 pandemic, their mobility was affected. They then resorted in contacting these people telephonically or on live streaming, and these people were scared. They were scared to number one, what if the people who are calling them wanting to details of corruption are members of the intelligence? Secondly, these people were scared that since the whole thing is done telephonically, what if the central intelligence organization members can hack the conversations? And so first, if you are indicating that your data collection was flawed, and they also go on to say government workers, most of them are working from home, and much details is in the offices. And again, thirdly, because they are working from home, they don't have clearance from the government to participate in the whole program. Then the question is, so how did you collect data in a way that you say the facts are verified? And I mean, so the data collection itself is very, very, very screwed.
Okay. I think, Mr. Jonas, you make important points about this report. Let's go back to what you said about Hopo Chingon.
Yeah.
That he wrote this report.
Yes.
Why would Hopo Chingon write such a report? He's so outspoken in Zimbabwe already. Why would he write this report? Thank you.
Number one, Hopo Chingon is projecting himself as the corruption fighter, if not in Africa. And secondly, Hopo Chingon is always talking about corruption, but we know that Hopo, from his behavior, from his activities, he's not really fighting corruption. Hopo Chingon is fighting President Emmerson Mnangagwa. That is clear, because there's nothing that Hopo can mention or can expose that doesn't have the name ED. What else again? To release this document in South Africa, it was strategic so that it given a spotlight. Like if it was released in Zimbabwe, people were going to be arrested, tortured, and killed and abducted. That whole drama in the release of the document, it was to give it a spotlight so that it becomes a sought after a document. Everyone would want to read a document that was smuggled out of Zimbabwe, because if it was released in Zimbabwe, I mean, people were going to be abducted and killed. Yet Hopo Chingon is talking a lot about whatever he's talking in Zimbabwe, and he is surely singing even songs in Zimbabwe and releasing them. But there's this sense of if you talk about corruption in Zimbabwe, you'll be killed. But MDC Alliance, even Chamisa, even Fadzai Mahere, my learned comrade who talks about corruption every day, although she got a position through corrupt means. I mean, they talk about corruption. And this document, immediately when it was released, Hopo Chingon and Fadzai Mahere were interviewed on Radio 702 in South Africa with the editor of the Maverick Citizen, the departmental, the sister newspaper of the Daily Maverick. They were on 702 with the same editor, and there was no one from the government of Zimbabwe. There was no one from ZANU-PF, or no one from the president's office. So that panel was also an indication that this editor would want Fadzai and would want Hopewell. So that they just talk about corruption. That panel is suspicious.
Yeah. All right. So Daily Maverick, it's a small paper, very small newspaper. I think they don't even have a physical paper. It's an online paper.
Yeah.
Based in Midrand. There are Zimbabweans who work there at Daily Maverick. Who owns that newspaper?
Oh, sorry,
like who are the owners? Yes, I'm asking you the question. Who owns that newspaper, Daily Maverick?
All right. they are purported to be South Africans, but with media, the media in South Africa, obviously it's politically inclined. We know that media controls the and manage narratives. So anyone who can be projected as the owner might be not the real owner. But one wonders why Daily Maverick, a paper which was established in 2009, would really want to publish that report without even, because there's a probable civil action from the people who are named in the so-called the document, because they are powerful people. They are not even worried. Why are they not worried? It means they've got both. To me, they've got whether political and the financial backup, or either of the two.
Okay, so Mr. Jonas, we have talked a lot about the report and what I want to do. I know many people didn't read that report. It's huge.
Yeah,
it can take you a whole day to read. So what I want us to do is I want us to go deep into this report. It's 65 pages, but the actual pages are 45, where there's content. And I pulled out 30 points from that report. And I want us to walk through that report. And the key thing I want you to see is that Mnangagwa is not the head of these cartels. He's not mentioned in this report as the one who is in charge of the cartels. And most of the information here is coming from maybe Mugabe's time. So you will see that the cartels that they're talking about, they didn't even start during Mnangagwa's time. Some of them started during Mugabe's time. I want to quickly run through this report in the next 5 minutes. Then let's look at the key point. So this study found out that there were 3 types of cartels: the collusive relationship between private sector companies, abuse of power by public officials for self-enrichment, collusive relationship between public officials and the private sector. And the study defined the cartel as corrupt business practices with collusion of public leaders. Do you see that among these 3, there's nothing to do with the president here? It's private sector to private sector, public sector officials being corrupt, and then public sector and private sector players. Now, the report concluded that political patrons are at the heart of all cartels. Cartels are harming ordinary people. Private citizens should lobby external players to disengage from cartels. So private citizens should lobby private companies to disengage from cartels. Illicit border transactions have cost Zimbabwe between $570 million to $3 billion per year. Then they went on to say, they gave specific examples. Kudata Gwire was paid, and the Zimbabwe dollar crashed by 23%. In 2018, 82% of Zimbabwe government expenditure was irregular. Then 15 billion was stolen from the diamond sector. You know, the popular $15 billion by Mugabe.
Yes.
Then over 60% of Zimbabweans don't trust Mnangagwa and government officials. So government officials like police, they're not trusted. Transparency International ranks Zimbabwe as 21st most corrupt country in the world. Then key systems in Zimbabwe are controlled by the cartels, which is the judiciary, the NPA, ZAC, and the police. Then Zimbabwe has the largest informal sector in the world. So they are saying that because of these cartels, Zimbabwe now has the largest informal sector in the world. Then number 13 point, diaspora remittances make up 10% of Zimbabwe's forex receipts, and these are set to decline as diaspora earnings fall and as the SA Rand depreciates. The winner-take-all approach to elections is enabling cartels. Then Zimbabweans have limited social cohesion, which means they cannot coalesce around a common purpose. Zimbabwe's laws are used selectively against political opposition, and then they go back to Kudata Gwire and say Sabi Gold Mine, a joint venture between the ZMDC and another local group called Chandawana, it was transferred to Kudata Gurei in 2020. And that is a company called Sotic, which was used to buy that. Then after that, in 2018, Tagurei bought cars for everyone in the presidium, which is President Mnangagwa, Vice President Chiwenga, and Vice President, I'm sorry, I'm just the second Vice President, and then SB Moyo. They were bought cars by Kudata Gurei. Then sanctions have contributed to the rise of cartels because the Zimbabwe government cannot trade with Western countries. They are forced to trade with non-Western countries, and most of these are corrupt, like Russia, China. These are very, very corrupt countries. And then John Bredenkamp is mentioned as someone who is assisting the government of Zimbabwe to avoid sanctions. And then in terms of tobacco, they are saying that there are tobacco cartels which take tobacco in Zimbabwe, sell it in South Africa for a low amount, and then take it and sell it to China at a high amount. The money is paid to China, to South Africa, and Zimbabwe only gets a small amount. So that is a tobacco cartel. Then there's a cartel at the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe that is involved in the farm mechanization program. If you remember, there was that cartel that they talked about, where private citizens are dealing with government officials to get cheap money. That is what happened. People like Temba Mliswa, Job Scala, they got money from the CBZ. Chamisa got money from the CBZ. All these people, they're part of these cartels. Then the banning of urban taxis, which allowed Zupco to come in as a monopoly. The people that are actually renting buses to Zupco are politically connected individuals, and these people are a cartel. Kudata Gurei is also in this cartel. He bought buses, I think, from Belarus, and these buses are being used as part of the Zupco fleet. And then they define the people who run cartels, powerful people who run cartels, as what we call money men and runners. Runners are people that work at a lower level. Money men are people like Tagurei. Tagurei is so powerful that when Mnangagwa leaves, Tagurei is still going to be a money man. He's still going to be running cartels. Money men, if you go to Zinara, there was a guy there at Zinara during Mugabe's days. When Mugabe left, he was kicked out, and Chiwenga's person is now in that place, is now in that Zinara. So the guy who is now the chairman or leader at Zinara is called Michael Madana, and this guy is in Chiwenga's faction. Then we go to 27, Kudakwa Tagurei controls the Feruka Masasa pipeline. So that is the oil cartel. He gets cheap foreign currency from the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe. Before he buys his fuel, he goes to the black market. So if he gets it for 83, he's going to sell it for 100. He makes 17 million immediately. Then he takes the 17 million that he made, he changes it into Forex. He takes back the 83 to the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe. He takes his profit, buys petrol, put it into the Masasa depot, and sells it at a higher price, or gives it to his friends, people like Esilumumba, to sell it on the black market. This is what happens. These are the oil cartels. Now let's go to after the coup. They are saying there was a tug of war between Chiwenga and Mnangagwa to lure Tagurei. Because Tagurei is a money man, he can sponsor you financially. There was a tug of war between Mnangagwa and Chiwenga to say, come to our faction. And I think you know what happened there. At the end of the day, Tagurei ended up coming to Mnangagwa's faction. So Chiwenga lost out because Tagurei is now in Mnangagwa's faction, according to this document. That's not me who's saying it. Then there's something called a cigarette cartel. And during Mugabe's days, so I want you to remember what I'm saying here. The cartels did not come from Mnangagwa. They came from, they are an animal of themselves. So during the days of Mugabe, there was a guy called Adam Molai, a nephew of Mugabe. He owned a company called Pacific Brands. Almost 80% of all cigarettes which were seized here in South Africa belonged to this brand called Pacific Brands. But there was also a company called Gold Leaf Tobacco, and it was owned by the Rutland family. All these cartels were operating and were supported by Mugabe. So they did not start now. They started during Mugabe's days. When British American Tobacco tried to go after Pacific Brands, Mugabe went on national television and told them to stop. He threatened them in public. Then there's a mining cartel where Obed Mpofu, Mugabe were involved in Marange diamonds. And I think there was also another MDC guy who had a farm there in Marange, who kept taking diamonds out of the country. So they're saying that Mugabe and Obed Mpofu were very involved in this mining cartel. Then they conclude by saying that the loss of power by Mugabe has created multiple patrons. And Mnangagwa and his vice presidents, they cooperate and compete at the same time. And then there's also the military factor. The military, there are people in the military who are using their own power to create their own cartels or to engage in cartel-like behavior. If you look in this report, they also went to the DRC. During the time when there was a war in the DRC, there was a company called Cosleg. And I think the guy who was in charge there, who was the director, was SB Moyo. He was also an army general. At the same time, he was the director there of Cosleg. I think including other people who are in the Zimbabwe ZANU-PF structures. So the cartels in Zimbabwe, they don't end in Zimbabwe. They also go abroad. They go outside of Zimbabwe, in countries like Mozambique, where there was a war, in the DRC, where there was a war. So my conclusion from looking at this is that the guys who wrote this report, I don't think they were targeting Mnangagwa. In fact, I think they were very, very kind. What do you think?
Okay. Remember, they mentioned that, for example, they are saying Mnangagwa and Chiwenga were fighting over Tagwire. Come to my faction, come to my faction. The moment a president is fighting, and in this document, Tagwire is mentioned as a leader, as a cartel, as a cartel. And
in every cartel,
yeah,
there's Tagwire.
Yes. Now, because remember, when it can be 20 million, but when you make a summary, you understand the target. If Tagwire is mentioned, is alleged to be involved in almost every cartel, and then Mnangagwa and Chiwenga are fighting over Tagwire, and then Mnangagwa won Tagwire to his faction. What the report is saying is that Mnangagwa is the head of cartels. Why? Because the person who is alleged to be the leading cartel in Zimbabwe is in it. So what does that mean if they are saying Tagwire is Mnangagwa's faction? It means
it means he can sponsor opposing factions. That's what they say specifically. So he can sponsor Chamisa, he can sponsor Mnangagwa, he can sponsor SB Moyo, he can sponsor General Chiwenga. And he was he's a money man. That's what the money man does.
Okay, fine. But if they say he is under the faction of Mnangagwa, that in other ways they are saying, because remember they are saying these cartels to survive, they need political protection and this issue of tendering. So basically they are projecting Mnangagwa as someone who is friendly to cartels and who benefit from cartels, because the person they are mentioning as the leading cartel is said is in the good books and is a friend to the president. So that summarizes the whole document. But my question is simple now. I want people to look at this document in these ways. Number one, the word cartel. I mean, South Africa. The last research they did with the Johannesburg Stock Exchange in Sentin, they realized that the shares which were traded on the Joburg JSE were 23% black. So that means that gives us that almost 77% of South African economy is in the hands of the whites. And in South Africa, 80% of the population is black people. Whites are only 8.8 million. Sorry, 80.8% of the population. But this 80.8% has got 77%. They trade the 77% shares. In South Africa, they don't call these people cartels. This media house, which is releasing this document and they call black people in Zimbabwe like Tagwire and so forth cartels. We have got, for example, they are saying they control everything, they manipulate everything. Nikki open air, the guy who controls the diamond, DBA and whatever in South Africa, and the Rupert's family there, even the Johannesburg airport, they have got their own section that they are not searched and whatsoever, and they own almost more than 60% of the economy of South Africa, and no one. It's blacks who are calling them white monopoly capital, but the fellow white media is not talking about that. It's quiet about that. So the word cartel, it's selective. Because in South Africa, the economy is known that it's shared between few families. We go to US. In the US, the Walton family is worth almost $215 billion. It's the richest family. And we have got the Rothschild family. You go to the Saudi Arabia, there's the Al Saud, the royal family. They are very rich. We go to UK, the British. What is the purpose of the royal family in UK? Nothing. But they are worth more than 40 million each. They are sponsored by the government to do nothing. And they are not taken as a cartel. They are very powerful, but they are white people. No one writes about them. When they are written in the media, they are written as a family and as a brilliant family. Without them, UK can go nowhere. There are so many rich families in America. They even call them conservative. Even the Republicans is composed of people who are rich, who doesn't want to share any wealthy. Any country you go, there are rich people. Rich people are powerful. You become power because of political power or money. That is the standard practice all over the world. A billionaire is powerful. But in Zimbabwe, a black person, the economy of Zimbabwe is in the hands of black people. Most people who are mentioned or accused of being cartels, I'm happy that they are black Zimbabweans. Look at it politically. People from Asia, they are called terrorists, and Africa, terrorist rebels. When they are whites in Europe, in America, they are called the right wing, or they've got certain selective terms. Black people, we need to realize that when a fellow black person is rich, we look at how they become rich. It must be corruption. Why white people are rich in Africa? Because white people are foreigners. Why are they rich in South Africa? Why were they rich in Zimbabwe? It's a legacy wealthy. They colonized our land. They colonized everything. Slavery. White people are right now. We've got countries in Africa, especially the Francophone. They are paying what is called colonial. I can't remember, colonial fund or taxi. The countries are paying money to France. And most countries which were once colonized by France, even their reserve bank, it's the reserve bank of France. We come to South Africa. Are people aware that the reserve bank of South Africa is privately owned? What do you say about that? the report is alleging that the Zimbabwe Reserve Bank is controlled by a cartel. But in South Africa here, the Reserve Bank is 100% privately owned. But the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe become corrupt and controlled by cartels. But theirs is 100% privately owned entity. And that is normal. So I'm trying to show Zimbabweans here that the terminology and this expose, it's selective. No one is denied to be rich in Zimbabwe. If for you to be rich, you need to join MDC, join it. If for you to be rich, you need to join ZANU-PF, why not joining it? But if what you are looking for is money is not found on trees or in the streets. Either you do business or you do fraud, whatever you do which works. It's very few people in the world who are rich in any country. Poor people are the majority. So this report is purporting to show Zimbabwe as the failed state, as the government is useless, is corrupt, everything is corrupt. Let me talk about the way the cartels are colluding with the government or private sector, and then for unfair competition. Let me touch on that. I will go to US because the MDC believes the American political system is synonymous to heaven. Let me go to US. Towards the few days towards the election in the US, pitting the President Donald Trump and the President Joe Biden, the Senate Committee on Commerce, Science and Transportation, they summoned big businesses like Mark Zuckerberg from Facebook, Twitter, Amazon. They were interviewed live and we were watching on Facebook and YouTube and different American media platforms. They were big. They were saying they are doing unfair business practices to what competition. Facebook, number one, they were accused of. Remember, there was WhatsApp. WhatsApp was competing with Facebook, and Facebook, they bought WhatsApp for $19 billion. They didn't stop there. Came Instagram. Instagram was becoming what? Facebook again bought Instagram. Then they were accused by the committee, the Senate committee, that you are not actually buying. You are actually buying them out in terms of competition. Facebook is not really much worried about WhatsApp and everything. Any social media which is competing with Facebook, they buy it. So that what they are doing is not because they will really love the business. They buy competition. And they were explaining. And Twitter and even YouTube was asked, why are so many adverts? You are infringing the right of a client. Because if someone wants to watch something, you end up maybe 50% more of adverts, or that's abuse. This is in America. And Facebook and others were asked, why are you doing business with China? Compromising the security of US. And we have got a guy called Eric Prince who runs Blackwater, a security company that is in Afghanistan, that is in different countries where there's war. Imagine US government is contracting, and he was a US Navy. He was a former soldier, and now he's running a company that is protecting the army. How can you protect the army? And this guy is a multi-billionaire with a lot of scandals. He was even President Donald Trump announced to build a wall between US and Mexico, and he said Mexico must pay. But this guy went on to do even public funding, sourcing money for people to build the wall. The president himself said the Mexico would build, but people are not talking about that. He is powerful, he has got money, and he is openly supporting the government, the administration of President Trump. In America, when there are elections, candidates go out there and raise funds. And who supports them? Business people. Politics and business, it's like an egg and a chicken. You can't tell whether at the beginning it was an egg or the chicken. But the chicken comes from the egg, and the egg also comes from the chicken. Politicians are sponsored by business people, and the business people are also, they want politicians for tenders and whatever it is. That is the standard practice all over the world, all over the world. And but in Zimbabwe, it's highlighted as corrupt. Business has got ethics. What is killing ethics and Ubuntu and even Christianity? It's money. Some people, they say money is a source of evil. And then in Zimbabwe, money must create angels. Every money in Zimbabwe, every dollar must make everyone who owns it to be an angel.
Okay.
I mean,
I get you. I get you, Mr. Jonas. I get you totally. And I think you are taking the practical approach that what this report is actually saying is not unique to Zimbabwe. In fact, South Africa is worse off than what they've said about Zimbabwe. And in fact, the United States is in a similar position. It's only that the people that own the media also run the cartels. So there will never be a day when they expose themselves. So let's say you are hope watching on. And you've written a report like this. Do you feel satisfaction? Do you think he's satisfied if he's the one who wrote it?
Okay, thank you. Remember, I'm also a member of the opposition, and the Opo is also a member of the opposition, and he want to run for presidency. And the laws of Zimbabwe is allowing him to do that. But now, people now think Tinashe was paid by ZANU-PF to support ZANU-PF to defend ED. It's good to be lost, but what is equally more of a blessing than anything is to realize that you are lost. A citizen of any country is by nature, by birth, a partner of the government. Because there is no way you can be an opponent of the government and then enjoy life in your country. Because every Zimbabwean wants a better country. And every Zimbabwean has got a certain idea or ideas that you want your country to be okay. So I've realized that as a citizen, besides being a politician, I'm a citizen of Zimbabwe. Why can't I phone President Mnangagwa and go to his office, sit down with him, and in a friendly environment, in a brotherly, not a dialogue. I'm not talking about a dialogue, but if I go to his office and I sit down with him over tea or over lunch, and we are talking as brothers, and I'm not talking, maybe I've got 10 ideas. Surely he can take one or two. And I want to go out there and say, you see, this ED is implementing or ZANU-PF is implementing. It was my idea. We need to stop grandstanding. We need to love Zimbabwe. We need to love being black. When a black person is rich, it's corruption, akaromba. We saw, okay, ED will never be perfect. And if he can be perfect, then we don't want him as a president, because he must go to heaven and become an angel. ZANU-PF will never be perfect. If ZANU-PF, they are replaced tomorrow with my party, I Do Zimbabwe, with the MDC, there's no, in political circles, they say a government is a necessary evil. There is no country in the world that is happy with their government. That's why elections are done. If there was a country that they are happy with their government, there won't be elections. People will say, we love our government, we love our party, then let's go. So the fact that even in America, parties are exchanging power, it means that there are people who are not happy with the Democrats, there are people who are not happy with the Republicans. So Zimbabwe people will never. So if people are not happy with the ZANU-PF, that's normal. Because in South Africa, there are people who are not happy with the ANC. In Russia, in everything, everywhere. But in Zimbabwe, if there are individuals who doesn't like ZANU-PF, they want to make everyone help them to remove ZANU-PF. But in other countries, not liking the ruling party, it's normal. That's democracy. But MDC alliance, when you don't like, when you talk anything positive about the government, you are a ZANU-PF project, you are also evil. I mean, them not liking ZANU-PF and wanting to meet ZANU-PF again, they are support. It's a confusion scenario. So Zimbabwe, we hate ourselves. We have got a bad narrative that for Zimbabwe to be okay, ZANU-PF must go. People were saying Mugabe is wrong. Mugabe left is now late. People, the same Chamisa attended EDC inauguration was, I mean, they were there. They blessed it. Tsvangirai was there. But they thought that they would be in an inclusive government. And then they were not put there. Then Mnangagwa must go. ZANU-PF must go. I think we don't want an angel of a president, but Zimbabweans, we must be, surely we must be, me and you, Mr. Gambagwe, we don't like the same soccer, sports, everything. We are uniquely different. But some people are saying, Tinashe and Gambagwe, you are friends. But it doesn't mean that if we do media together or whatever together, we believe and we are two identical twins. If we are with our girlfriends or our wives, it doesn't mean that we like everything about them. But we need a blessing of tolerance in our country to tolerate one another in our differences. Because ED can be the best president ever. Chamisa can turn out to be the best president ever. Mr. Douglas Monzona can be the best president Zimbabwe wanted. And then the question is, what is the best president? That definition on its own again would make us differ. There are people who believe that it is the best president right now. And there are people who believe that Chamisa would be the best president of Zimbabwe. There are people who believe that Douglas Monzora would be the best. And this is allowed. This is the right of the people. But if I believe in Monzora and someone believes in Chamisa, we should not kill each other and be enemies.
Okay, so Mr. Jonas, I think let's wrap it up. Let's summarize what you said. You said this report definitely written by Hopo Chingono because he's always talking about corruption. You said that what these guys are saying about cartels is not unique to Zimbabwe. This is something common in every country. And then you said these cartels did not start with the current government. They've always been there. And after Mnangagwa, they're going to be there. And then you also looked at the practicalities, politics and business. They go together. There's no way where politics does not go with business. Do you think people like Hopo are failing to understand that the relationship between politics and business, and they are just using this for their own purposes?
Okay. Hopo Chingono was supporting ED when ED just took over power. Somehow along the equation, some expectations were not met. Whether Hopo wanted to be a minister of information or wanted to be presidential spokesperson or media strategist, I don't know. But to me, you can't support someone and then turn suddenly and become an enemy. Hopo understands politics very well, but Hopo is not employed. He's not working anywhere. So Hopo is a journalist who is an activist, because he's getting donor funds. And as I say to you, Hopo is a politician and he has got a presidential aspirations. But he thought that Chamisa is more famous than him. So he needs to align. Everyone is aligning themselves with Chamisa. While they don't believe in Chamisa, but they want to fish in his tank. Hopo is a politician, not a journalist. Being a journalist is like a strategy. He's a politician, so he wants to date ED to get mileage. This is the politics that we need to stop. So I'm appealing to Hopo and say, my Hopo, you are allowed to be a politician. It's your country. it's your rights. But let's stop this thing of fighting a president and fighting a minister. ED is in the office now. So let's not fight him. Those who want to remove ED, be quiet, work on your plan, remove him. ED never fought Robert Mugabe. ED was being blasted by Mugabe's wife. And ED was not even answering back. He was quiet. Why was he quiet? He was working on removing Mugabe. So people who are fighting ED, they don't have a plan. They lack any strategy. They don't have a strategy. Because the ED never fought Robert Mugabe. But right now, ED is in power. Mugabe's history. So Chamisa and Wopo, they are backing dogs. That's why ED is saying Muchimbo Ukulande Chitonga. Because ED never made noise about removing Mugabe. But people were surprised. A person who doesn't have a strategy will back day, night, and morning. That's the thing. ED is not talking about Chamisa. If we count how many times Chamisa talks about ED and whatever. So people who are backing in politics, they don't have strategies. It's simple. A strategist doesn't talk. So simply, the politics of Oppo, I respect it. It's politics that is fronting him, he's getting money, he's supporting his family, but it's not correct to tarnish the image of the president and your country. Because ED is nobody. But the office that he is working in, ED is the brand ambassador of Zimbabwe. So I've traveled to so many countries. Whenever you are there, you say, I'm from Zimbabwe. People will say, okay, Mugabe. I used to not to like it. But I realized that Mugabe is the image of the country. Everyone you tell, even in South Africa, that you are from Zimbabwe, they will talk about Mugabe, they will talk about ED. Because these are special people. We need to seriously assist them where we can and engage them. Fighting a president who commands the military will make him ED very rogue. Imagine if ED is being fought by Zimbabweans in social media, everything, and then he become angry and say, I don't care, and then he reaches a point that he doesn't care. Who to control him? Because the elections now, elections, there's 2 years to go to elections. And let's say we agree every day, we bash ED. And then ED says, okay, I don't care now. We can, if a president becomes rogue, everything can go wrong. Even a genocide. He can command the army to kill 5 million Zimbabweans tomorrow. And that can happen. So we need to respect offices, to respect institutions. People are talking that Zimbabwe is lacking strong institutions. Strong institutions will be built by people. It's us. We should recognize the RBZ. Zimbabweans, we are talking about RBZ as a corrupt entity that doesn't work anymore. And then where else can we go and find the RBZ? Where else? Okay. I'm telling Zimbabweans now that South Africa Reserve Bank is privately owned, 100%. But they don't condemn their RBZ and say, it's not our bank. They are even proud of it.
Okay, I think, Mr. Jonas, you have said a lot, and I hope that people who watch this program, they got an understanding of this report, because I think many people don't read. So they end up commenting. If they see a report written Cartel, they just comment without reading. And I think in the past 40 minutes or so, we've given them enough information about what is in that report. Personally, I think there's nothing new, and you've also said there's nothing new. But you added and said that this report was written by Hopo. And I'm not sure, maybe I should ask him if he wrote that report. But I don't think Hopo would be scared to just say, I wrote that report. Because what else are they going to do? Are they going to arrest him again?
Okay. I want you to understand one thing. There are people who are writing scandals in Zimbabwe, scandals involving ED, scandals involving VP Chwenga, scandals involving VP Mohati. Right now, there's even a report about a scandal of VP Mohati, which is happening right now. There are reporters in Zimbabwe who are reporting this, even personal information. There are people in Zimbabwe who are reporting personal information of the vice president of the president of Zimbabwe. And these journalists, they even report even on video. They put their names, and they are not being arrested. So why would someone who writes about, report about corruption fear being abducted when someone is reporting a personal scandal involving the vice president, and that person is safe in the country? Why was the report published in South Africa? It was not because people are afraid of being arrested. It was because they wanted to make it you know what can in China they say they've got a proverb that forbidden fruits are the sweetest. In South Africa, there's a shop which sells cell phones. I know. When you want to buy the cell phones, the workers, they take you outside or in a corner and say, which phone do you want? This one. It will be written like 10,000 rands. They will tell you, I'll give you the 5,000. Go outside. Go outside. And then they'll come outside and give you that phone and you give them money. But this is a strategy. The owner will be knowing, you'll be pretending like he's reading a newspaper or sleeping. So they know that black people, they want to steal something and buy it because it's cheaper. But that 5,000 rands you pay, it's the actual price. so to smuggle this document to South Africa, it was to make people want to read it so that it can make headlines, because it was done risky, and people can be even wanted now. The CIO wanted to intercept the interviews. This dramatic thing is to make the document to have headlines across the world.
Okay, I think Mr. Tinashe Jonas, we've done justice to this topic, and I think just to mention something else which is new, Jonathan Moyo's book from this week, I think they're going to be printing it in South Africa and the United Kingdom. So I don't know if there's any relationship between this report and Jonathan Moyo's book, because I just don't think Hope Chingone has got that academic ability to write a paper. I don't know what his level of education is, but I would think he would need assistance to write what is in this particular study.
Okay.
Maybe you can, I stand corrected there.
Okay. When I say Oppo, I don't mean it is Oppo alone. Remember, the chief strategist of G40 is Jonathan Moyo. What Oppo is doing, what Fadzaima is saying, what Chamisa is saying, we all know that this is G40. There are those, my fellow Zimbabweans, who say they don't like ZANU-PF, they hate ZANU-PF on social media. But Chamisa is G40, controlled by Patrick Joao, Kasukuere, and Jonathan Moyo. So Oppo Chingone is the spokesperson of the faction. So Tagirei is in the wrong. Is not sponsoring the G40. So he is a target. Who doesn't know that Kasukuere he was rich? Was rich in Zimbabwe, and he owns a 40-bedroom house, which by world standards it's called a 5-star hotel. There's no house which has got 40 bedrooms. For what? So, but people like Kasukuere are not said they are cartels. Anyone linked to G40 is not getting that spotlight. This is a political document. That is the fight between G40 and the Lacoste. And the Zimbabweans are buying in this political fight. So this report has got publications which were published in Zimbabwe by Zimbabwean media, by journalists who stay in Zimbabwe. But those people are not dead. So why now, if almost 60%, 70% of the document are issues which were already published in Zimbabwe and known. So why then the 30% of the document would be smuggled out? Because the core content of the document is something that is public knowledge. Right now, Superman Dwanzira is said is a cartel leader, but he came out and said the company that is quoted in the document as I'm the owner. It has got even the owners, the directors even went out clearly, and you can even go to a simple Google search. You can find the directors of the company, and it's not part of the ownership of the company. So
okay, I think, Mr. Jonas, let's do this. Let's wrap this up, because obviously we've gone almost an hour.
Yes.
And I think you made very, very important points. However, there's a question that keeps coming up. So let's end with that question.
Yes.
People keep asking me, Jonas, why don't you come to Zimbabwe? I'm sure that question is going to come every week.
All right.
So maybe let's address it.
Let me answer it. I wanted to go to Zimbabwe around, I think November. I can't remember. I think November, and then I had other things to do, December. And you know, because if you stay in a foreign country, surely when you go to Zimbabwe, you have got other things to do. For example, to relatives. My mother is in Masvingo, rural Masvingo. I've got relatives in Harare, in Bulawayo. There's no way. Even in January, I was supposed to go to Zimbabwe, but there's level 4 lockdown. You need the permission from each province to go to each province, and the level of risk of COVID-19 in Zimbabwe right now, it's very high. So because of the vaccine, obviously any normal person must wait for vaccination and see if vaccination is working, so that when you go to your country, you must be free. Because what's the purpose of being in Zimbabwe if I can end in Harare only, and maybe not go to Masvingo, not go to Bulawayo? When you are home, you need to travel and see relatives and do some little projects. I'm a politician. I should go to other provinces to see my comrades and stuff. So this is the pandemic. Zimbabwe is my home. I mean, it's my home. So there's not to worry. Let's see the vaccination. If it's working, probably April or beginning of May, I should be in Zimbabwe.
Okay. Mr. Jonas, I really enjoyed talking to you, and I think everyone really benefited from what you were saying. I always like the way you look at the situation, very, very different from everyone else. So let us end it here for today. Is there anything else you want to say before we close?
Let me talk to my Zimbabweans. ZANU-PF is in power. ZANU-PF is the government of Zimbabwe right now. You like ZANU-PF? You don't. You like the president? You don't. You like the ministers in Zimbabwe? You don't. I would rather say be quiet and plan what you are planning to remove the president, to remove the government unconstitutionally. Don't make noise on social media, and don't try to convert those ones who are patriotic, who want to respect their government. I was lost. I found home. I found myself. I need to respect ED as my president. ED respected Mugabe to the last day until we removed him. So the point I'm trying to make is those who want to remove ED, those who want to remove ZANU-PF, please do that quietly. Don't make a noise of causing social despondent and urge everyone removing the government unconstitutionally is a tall order. It's not a joke. So don't be used by leaders who want to sacrifice their supporters for money or for power. Let's love one another. Let's tolerate one another. Let's support ED. If you don't like ED, respect the office he is in. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Tinashe Jonas, I really enjoyed talking to you. And I'm going to leave everyone with a scoop. Tomorrow, there's going to be a first meeting between MDCT President Douglas Ngonzora and Vice President Dr. Thokozani Kupe. I'm going to bring you someone here tomorrow to talk about that. So let's see what happens tomorrow. there's fireworks in the MDCT. And I would like to thank you and leave you with that for today. Mr. Jonas, we'll talk to you again next week on Monday.
Thank you so much.